What it do, what it do, what it do? It's your boy Cinco Bands the man. Excuse me. It's your boy Cinco Bands the man. Trying to get 100 grand. You know I got the plan. Hey man. What's the dealio though? What's for really though? Hey man, we back. We back with another one. Nothing like the other one. You know it's your boy Cinco Bands the man. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, drop me hype. You already know I'm back in the algorithm. You dig? Yes, sir. Hey, man, you rocking with the best, most valuable podcast. Yes, sir. Today, we speaking on Diddy release. That's right, I said it. Diddy release. Yeah. Without further ado, let's get to it. You dig?
Free YouTube and the YouTube Music app all together. One subscription, 2 apps. Try 1 month.
Diddy could be getting released from prison today if everything goes well. That's according to TMZ. TMZ posted, Diddy has a critical hearing right now and there's a real shot he could walk free. And here's exactly why. Diddy's attorneys and the state is back in court today making oral arguments. Diddy's attorney is arguing that the sentence that Diddy got, is unconstitutional and just flat out wrong. They're claiming nobody in the history of what Diddy has gotten convicted of has gotten a sentence as harsh as Diddy got it. And when the judge gave the sentence to Diddy, the contributing factor to why they gave Diddy as long of a sentence that he got for violating the Mann Act is they said that Diddy forced these women into doing these things and coerced these women into doing these things. The problem with that is if Diddy forced them and coerced them into doing these things and violating the Mann Act, then that would be trafficking. Diddy was found not guilty of trafficking. And when the jury came back with their deliberation, the jury says not guilty to force, not guilty to coercion. But it did find Diddy guilty of transporting, right, like egg workers, okay? So his attorney is saying if the jury is saying that Diddy didn't force these women nor coerce these women, why would the judge then sentence Diddy to a sentence this long that's really unusual based on the factors that he believed that Diddy forced and coerced these women? If he forced and coerced them, it'll be trafficking. Now, a lot of people who is analyzing this and giving their opinion on this is saying Diddy has a really good argument to get out of jail early, maybe today.
There is a good chance that Diddy could be eating dinner at his home tonight, a free man. And that's because an appeals court is now hearing the review of the trial in which Diddy was convicted of violating the Mann Act. And his defense lawyers are making 2 arguments that could sway these judges and make them overturn the conviction. Let me explain both. So the first is that the defense says that the violation of the Mann Act is to prohibit the transportation of prostitutes across state lines, and it's typically for commercial purposes. That's where they've used it before. In this case, the defense is saying this is nothing more than kinky porn. And kinky porn is protected by the First Amendment. Now, that
Tara, Franklin, Aisha.
Judge says, are you arguing that his acquitted conduct, coercion, fraud,
Monique, Christina, Yolanda,
Mann Act to prosecute people who are moving prostitutes across state lines for commercial transactions, which again is what it's usually used for, that's one thing. But here, there's no commercial purpose. Diddy lost money. He ended up paying the prostitutes. The films were never distributed to anybody. The defense is saying it was for his pleasure and the pleasure of people who may have been participating.
This reminds me of that meme where they said sex work is illegal until you put a camera in front of it. So Diddy, I guess, was trying to find a loophole where he was filming these things so he could say this is, like this is corn and not, that. But I don't think that's going to hold up in court at all because these tapes were never released. This was for pure self-gratification. He never sold these tapes. He never distributed these tapes. So those are two arguments. Is that, and then they're also arguing the sentence imposed is just outright egregious according to them.
So they're saying, look, this is like any porn. It could be OnlyFans. It could be anything like that. And all of that is constitutionally protected and shouldn't be prosecuted. So that's one argument. And I got to say, it is an interesting argument. The prosecutors are saying it's meritless, but I wouldn't be so quick to judge it that way. So we don't know what the prosecution is going to say beyond that in court. But these judges, as I'm recording right now, the judges are hearing these arguments. The second thing they're arguing is that the sentence was totally out of whack, that Diddy got 50 months for violating the Mann Act. And typically, for Mann Act prosecutions, the average is around 15 months. And what the defense is saying is that the trial judge in this case considered all sorts of evidence that he shouldn't have. That the judge, even though Diddy was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking, and there was a lot of evidence presented about coercion and force, and the Cassie video was introduced into evidence, the defense is saying none of that should be considered because the Mann Act has nothing to do with that. But they're saying the judge's sentence was colored by all of those things, and the judge threw the book at Diddy when the judge should have just looked at the Mann Act violation and then sentenced appropriately. They're saying the appropriate sentence should have been around 15 months. Well, guess what? Diddy has already served 19 months. So, if either of those arguments fly, if the appellate court believes that this is constitutionally protected porn, or if the appellate court believes that the sentence was out of whack and 15 months is more appropriate, either one of those, Diddy is a free man. So the oral argument, as I said, is going on right now. Typically, and I'm sure it's going to happen in this case, the judges are not going to rule from the bench. That just never happens. So they will meet and confer, as they say, and write an opinion. But sooner rather than later, if the appellate court buys what Diddy is trying to sell, he could be a free man relatively soon.
We got transcripts of the oral argument that was done in court today. So we can start off right here, right? So the judge says, how are you saying Judge S erred on this? Are you saying he had to do more than acknowledge the acquittal? Shapiro says, that's just make weight. Now, make weight means that's just filler, is irrelevant. Like, the acquittal conduct should serve no purpose in Diddy's actual sentence. Judge Nardini says, that's disparaging. Shapiro says, that's not what I mean. I like to move on. Judge Nardini says, what about the two victims who participated? If I cause someone to commit a crime, I am guilty of a crime. Section 2 is not the same as Section 371. Shapiro says, yes, this court has to review the district court's actual findings. Nardani says the jury is the finder of fact. Shapiro says the jury asked for Cassandra Ventura, which is Cassie's testimony on this, and we know that the jury rejected the notion that there was coercion. Judge Nardani says, but you argue Coombs did not intend under Mann Act. Judge Nardani says, you are implying that the jury disbelieved everything Ventura says. But what are you really arguing is that the government was mixing and matching, right? Shapiro says, acquitted conduct can only be used if it is also convicted conduct. Judge Nardani says, he arranged for escorts to travel to the hotel. What happened there was what he intended. It wasn't just for an attractive scene, and act was just something that happened, but he showed the video. It showed his intent. Shapiro says that's not enough. The judge says, was the RICO evidence presented to the jury to convict on the Mann Act? Shapiro says yes. Judge says, are you arguing that his acquitted conduct, coercion, fraud cannot be considered in sentencing at all? Shapiro says they are not even relevant. Nardani says, well, your brief caricatures the district court use of the acquitted conduct. Nardani also says, at trial, the defense argued that he never intended that the specified conduct occurred after state lines were crossed. But on a plane, he showed a woman a video of prior incidents where it happened. That's proof. Shapiro says, our defense focused on coercion. The judge says, the mere fact that you were acquitted doesn't take it off the table insofar that the conduct is also convicted conduct. That can't be. Shapiro says, there are going to be cases closer than this one. I sat through this trial for 8 weeks. They focused on RICO. Judge says the Mann Act was a sideshow. Now, this is like different judges, by the way. Judge Baker and Nardani are the two judges so far. So they're questioning them. Judge Baker says the Mann Act was a sideshow. But why shouldn't we just hold the government to what they argue? Shapiro says we should. Many people in America question whether it is constitutional to allow acquitted conduct to drive a sentence. The judge then says, let's take the violence off the table. But we have findings of physically pressured and drugging them. Shapiro says, this is an upward variance. Baker says, the guidelines are just that, only guidelines. 2 women were plied with drugs. 1 became an addict. Shapiro says, this was the highest sentence for any person in this criminal history category. Our principal argument is that the term victim should be interpreted with its plain meaning. Judge says, thank you, stick around for a rebuttal. Now, I'll be real, so far, it was looking really shaky for Diddy's defense. Now, the state came and the judges were equally, I guess, as pushy-backy on the state as well. So it looks like their job is to kind of like challenge the argument and then hear both sides. So it's unclear, man. I don't know. I'm not a legal expert. I do think it's kind of effed up if they acquitted him of the conduct, but yet you use the conduct to give him more time, right? I do think that's pretty effed up. But I'm not a legal expert. I don't know what's going to happen today.
Then they bring up a case that they're citing and everything, and it's Vaughn and Johnson, which is in her 100-page brief. But basically, the judge wanted to go into the fact that, and he read from Judge Subramanian's the transcript when he was going through the sentencing, saying, you know, he did consider some overlapping conduct, and that should be allowed, overlapping conduct. So there's a difference here between acquitted conduct and overlapping conduct. And, you know, at the heart of it as well, I'll just sort of skip around a little bit. The government, Christy.
You rocking with the best, most valuable podcast. Hey, hit that like, hit that subscribe. You already know what it is. Drop me a hype. Hey, what y'all think though so far? Y'all think Diddy gonna come home free? What y'all think?
Government, Christy Slavic, when she got up there, she said, you know, this isn't actually acquitted conduct. This is admitted conduct. You know, we're talking about a guy who said he admitted to, you know, giving drugs to these women, which I guess would be coercion, plying them with drugs was the term used, and beating them, whatever. And then Shapiro said, no, that's not actually admitted conduct. That's not what happened. He never admitted to, quote, plying them with drugs. What he admitted to was, you know, domestic violence. And it was Judge Baker who was sort of trying to lay it out for Shapiro, saying, okay, so what you're saying is Judge Subramanian, when he was sentencing Mr. Combs, he was sort of mixing and matching some of the acquitted conduct under some of these elements. And she said, yes, that's what he was doing. So if he were to sentence Combs on, you know, a coercion element, you know, or because of coercion, like that should not be allowed because he was acquitted of coercion under different predicate acts. So they bring up the Cannes Film Festival travel, which is when, and this was Nardini who brought this up. They seem to be kind of stuck on this for a minute.
From everything I've seen and read, I don't think it looks too good for Diddy, man. Like, these judges they ain't really seem too receptive to what Diddy lawyers were saying. Now, they did offer pushback as well to the state, so maybe that's good news for Diddy. I don't know, right? I don't think they're going to let Diddy just absolutely walk free today. I think best case scenario, they would probably, I don't know, give Diddy, maybe, I don't know, man, probably what? Diddy did 2 years already, plus the 19 months he's been in jail for. I don't know, probably, no, Diddy got arrested in 2024, right? So he's been in jail for 19 months total. So I don't know, maybe Diddy get reduced to let's say 24 months and he gets out in 6 months. Maybe that's it, but I don't know, man. Y'all let me know in the comment section, what do you guys think? Is it looking hopeful for Diddy? Do you think Diddy will beat these charges? Let me know, okay? And if you're still watching, well, not beat the charges, but do you think the
Hey, man, I don't know. I think Diddy coming home, bro. I'm telling you, Diddy gonna be home, y'all. They can't hold that nigga. They just got him on the Mann Act. They just said he been in there 19 months. He coming home, y'all. But y'all let me know in the comments what y'all think. You think he coming home? Or you think he locked down? You know what I'm saying? Bound to Drizz Ham.